Well, hello everyone. I thought that as we were coming up to Thanksgiving, I would share with you my top 5 tips for making the holidays just a little bit easier in the state that you are moving to. Being away from family and friends and all of your holiday traditions is one of the hardest parts about moving to a new state. But there are several things that you can do to make those holidays in your new state just a little bit easier. The first tip that I have is to think about what is your favorite part of each holiday and try to recreate it in your new state. Is it your mom's favorite turkey gravy at Thanksgiving? Is it your dad's ribs at Christmas? Or is it maybe, like an Easter egg hunt with all the kids in your family at Easter time? You need to decide what it is you love most about each holiday and then figure out how to make that happen in your new state. For example, you can get the recipe for your mom's turkey gravy and you can make it for Thanksgiving in your new state. Maybe you can learn how your dad cooks those delicious ribs for Christmas and figure out how to cook those ribs in your new state. Maybe at Easter time, instead of having family over to do an Easter egg hunt, you could invite all the kids in your neighborhood. Your traditions are never going to be quite the same when you move to a new state, but you can put your own spin on it. And you never know, in a few years, that tradition may become better than the original. So that's the first tip. Take your favorite part of that Christmas tradition or that holiday tradition that you know that you're going to miss and recreate it in your new state. Don't try to recreate everything. Just pick one thing because it just makes it a little bit easier and focus on that part that you like best. Tip number 2 is actually the exact opposite, and that is to do something totally different in your new state. If the best part of a holiday for you is impossible to recreate and you know that you're going to feel sad because you can't experience that tradition, then do something totally different. For example, if you know that being with family is the best part of a holiday for you, but you know you can't get together, then plan to do something you've never done before for that holiday, ideally something that you really enjoy. So if you love hiking or if you love being out on a lake, go and do that. If you want to, sit and watch movies, do a movie marathon, watch all of the Game of Thrones seasons or all the Star Wars movies, or maybe all the Marvel movies in order and eat pizza. Do that. Do something totally different that you really enjoy. So that's tip number 2. Do something totally different in your new state if you can't actually replicate the thing that you love most about holidays in your old state. And then tip number 3 is get involved in your local community during the holidays because it is the easiest time to meet people. Christmas parades, Thanksgiving outreaches, 4th of July celebrations are all great social events and a great way to meet new people. If you have kids, volunteer for everything at school. I've never yet met a PTA who weren't desperate for volunteers and helpers. Or maybe you could plan something in your neighborhood. Going to an event and talking to a whole load of new people that you don't know may sound stressful, but moving to a new state is all about being open to new experiences and getting out of your comfort zones. So you could challenge your kids or your partner to go and talk to 3 new people at each event. And before you know it, you're going to know so many people. And if you're offering to help and you're volunteering, not only are you going to meet new people, but you'll become a valuable member of your new community. And I always tell the people that I coach, be open to every new experience, every new food, everything about the holidays, wherever you're moving to. When I first moved to the USA from England, obviously we don't have Thanksgiving in England. And I thought a lot of the foods at Thanksgiving were really strange, like sweet potato casserole, which I still don't like. But I was open to trying any traditions. I spent Thanksgiving with a family and their tradition was to make a potato cannon every year. And so I just embraced these things no matter how crazy it sounded, and now I love Thanksgiving apart from sweet potato casserole. So that is my tip number 3. Get involved in your local community. And then tip number 4 is to budget for a trip to see your family during the holidays, either flying or driving them to see you, or you flying or driving to see them, or maybe meeting in the middle. For the first year or so after you move, that may not be possible because moving tends to take up most of people's budgets for fun trips or anything. But as soon as you can afford it, plan that trip. When you move, time with family and friends is not about the quantity of time, it's all about the quality. For example, 4 years ago, 20 of my husband's family members spent 5 days at Thanksgiving at the beach in Destin, Florida, and we had such an amazing time that we still talk about it now, and we'll definitely plan to do that in the future. And then for my family, I only ever get to see them at Christmas every 2 or 3 years. So when we're together, we pack in as much fun as possible so that we can ensure that the memories that we make are so special and so lasting that it carries us through till the next 2 or 3 years when we can get together. So planning trips with family and friends is vital. When I coach people who are preparing to move to a new state, I always suggest that they create like a separate savings account just for trips and for making memories. That way, every time you get paid, you can set up an automatic direct deposit from your checking account into that savings account. And even if you can only afford to put just a small amount away each week or every other week or every month, that will soon add up over time. And then we get to tip number 5, which I think is the most important tip. And that is to accept that holidays in your new state are going to be different, and that's okay. I always teach people that life is 50-50, good and bad. No matter how rich you are, how privileged you are, you're still going to have good days, you're still going to have bad days, you're still going to have good times, and you're going to have less good times. And if life in your new state overall is amazing, then it may be that spending holidays away from family and friends is that part of living in a new state that's not quite so good. But I always think if you catch yourself feeling sad, just acknowledge that it's okay to feel sad, and don't make yourself feel any worse about by making yourself feel frustrated for being sad. Just accept it and focus on the good things about that holiday. And if you've used all those other tips that I've suggested, if you've taken the best things about holidays in your other state, if you're budgeting for trips, if you're getting involved in your local community, if you're doing something totally different, then you are going to make the best of holidays in your new state. It may not be perfect, it may not be as good as where you came from, but it's still going to be better than if you don't put that effort forward. And if you give yourself the grace to feel sad, to accept that it's going to be different, then it makes holidays much easier to deal with. And if you haven't moved yet, if you are still a few months or maybe a few years away from moving, as you go through all the holidays over the next few months or the next year or so, focus really on what it is that you love about each holiday. And at Thanksgiving, ask for those recipes for the dishes that you love. Ask for, think about the traditions that you really enjoy as you go through the holidays, and think about how you could recreate that tradition in a different way in your new state. That way, when you do move, you will be fully prepared. And your holidays may not be quite as good as they are where you are now, or maybe you'll put your own spin on the holidays in that new state and they'll be even better. So those are my top 5 tips for making holidays in your new state as good as possible. Number 1, decide what is your favorite part about each holiday and try to recreate it in your new state, but with your own unique twist. If you can't recreate a holiday tradition, do something totally different, which is tip number 2. Tip number 3 is get involved in your local community. Holiday times are the perfect time to make new friends and become a valuable part of your new community. Tip number 4 is to budget to see family and friends during the holiday time, and meet somewhere in the middle, or you fly to them or they fly to you, or you pay for their gas, whatever you need to do with your budget to make the holidays a little bit better. And then tip number 5, accept that holidays in your new state are going to be different, and that's okay. So you have a wonderful Thanksgiving and Christmas or whatever holiday is coming up when you watch this video.